So, Pat, it looks like you've got a wonderful topic to share with us today, and she.
We can't
okay.
get our guest. We can't get our guest, but he wrote a great article.
Yeah,
so I do want to talk about the article.
That. Yeah.
The article is from First Things, and it's called Newman Against Compromise, and it's by Jacob Phillips, and he is a systematic theologian at St. Mary's University in Twickenham. So we must be having trouble getting
Newman Against Compromise.
That's a long way to go,
okay.
Yes. And it's a great article because it starts by talking about how we are at a time and place in our history, especially our faith history, where he said, I love this line, Gen Z is looking for full-fat Christianity. I love that.
Yeah, right.
Full-fat Christianity, an uncompromising faith that offers a genuine alternative to contemporary society. And this is kind of how he kind of starts this whole article, because he said, unfortunately, so often, he was Anglican, the author of this article was Anglican, and he too converted to Catholicism. But he said in his Anglican days, Newman was always kind of seen as the person who tried to bridge the gap in a sense, and was kind of pluralistic in a sense. And so he really kind of looked at Newman, especially after his conversion, as a little bit of a traitor. That what's this all about? How can you, leave the Anglican church and go to Catholicism? But when he himself converted to Catholicism years later, he took a look again at Newman and realized that he had been kind of reading Newman wrong. And he went on to talk about how, and this was one of the things I wanted to ask him, was about how Newman wrote a lot about the 4th century, especially during that whole Arian controversy, because he was familiar with it, he investigated it, he looked into it, and he felt like he was living in those times. Now, I find this, it always comes back up in our lives, right? And so he said there were kind of these two parties, right, leading into the Council of Constantinople. There was the Arians, right, and they, argued that Jesus wasn't fully divine. And then there was the Orthodox party, Rome, that held fast to the teachings that, yes, he was the Son of God. But there was a third group, and they were kind of titled, in quotations here, the semi-Arians.
Oh, really?
And they were gaining strength because they tried to mediate the path between these two extremes. So, in fact, he referred to them as the reduced fat version of the faith. I love this language. I just thought it was great. And it was kind of that, well, the Son was almost God, but not quite. I mean, And so when Newman understood that, the author says, Newman's blood ran cold on seeing himself belong to the latter-day equivalents to the semi-Arians.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Yeah.
And then he said his conversion was inevitable once he realized that. So I think this author goes on to say that there are, when it comes to the fundamental truths of religion, there really is only a binary response. It's either yes or no. He said there's nothing in between. And so he says the basic truths of Christian faith are binary. It's either a truth or it isn't. And so I loved it because Pope Benedict wrote, even before he was Pope, about Newman. And he wrote on the semi-Arians as the masters of political accommodation. Now, I love this because I think this is what we're living in right now. They sought to water down the audacity of the Christian claim by subsuming it awkwardly under the ruling mode of thought. And so the idea here that he was putting forward, and he said, even before they said Newman's conversion to Catholicism, he rebuked an Anglican bishop, I think the name was Warburton, for saying public utility and truth coincide. And Newman had all kinds of problems with this. He said, no, you cannot twist the truth so that it serves the public.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things this author was getting at, because he says we have to understand that there is no longer a middle path between genuine Christianity and secular society. He said we can't water it down. We can't water down versions of faith to try to make everybody get along.
Right.
He said we just cannot do it. And he said, and then he kind of closes his article by talking about that Newman was taken by a quote when he was a young man from Thomas Scott, and he never forgot it, and he used it numerous times. Holiness before peace. Holiness before peace. And so this, I thought, was just, if anybody wants to read the article, I would encourage you to read it. It's in First Things, Newman Against Compromise. And he said, one of the things I was really curious to ask him, because I've read Newman, and he is just, I've read some more of his stuff because I'm getting ready to do a Virtuous Life show on an author that wrote a book on Newman. And Newman, it's amazing how people have twisted so much of what he has said and done. You know, he wrote a lot on conscience. He wrote a lot on the laity. He wrote a lot of his ideas were part of Vatican II documents. And not saying the documents twisted them, because I think the documents are clear, but people twisted the documents too.
Right.
And so, in essence, they twisted a lot of what Newman said in ways that don't fit when you really read it in context. And so I love this, because I think this is kind of there's going to come a time in all of our lives where we are faced with this binary choice, right? Do you serve the Lord or do you serve the world? And don't try to mitigate the two, because there are some areas where you cannot compromise.